Hi everyone, welcome to the Wild and Wise podcast, a place where we invite guests to have conversations about how do we stay ahead in a fast-changing world. We'll talk about reinvention, career pivots, changes, technology, and all the good stuff in between. If you're enjoying this podcast, hit the like and subscribe button so that we can continue bringing you great content. All right, we're going to get started. Voice is a bit husky because we want to sound sexy today. We have the squad from Bros Before Woes in the house.
Yeah.
As we start this, I actually reached out to Brian one day. I was like, hey, B, I've been thinking about this men's support group, men's health, because I feel that there's like a need for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And I was like, maybe I should start something or start something small, with all the time that I have, I want to do something. And he was like, yo, dude, no need to start anything, just join us. So that's how it really kind of started, But I'm very happy that you guys are here. Thank you for joining us on the podcast. A lot of good stuff that we'll get into. So before we start, I always do this. Why don't we just do a round of intros, man? I love the name Bros Before Woes. And maybe you just tell us who you are outside of Bros, or is the Bros part of your life? Just go around this way. Titus, we start with you.
My day job, what most people know me for, is in early childhood education.
Yeah.
So I've always told people I'm a teacher first, teach preschool. Now I run my own business, and in the business we do multi-sports program for preschoolers. It's a little unique because we blend in music and storytelling into our classes.
Yeah.
I think the other unique angle that we have is most preschool teachers you see are women, but I'm a male preschool teacher, and some in my team are also male preschool teachers. So that's like my main line, my bread and butter. And then, when Brian first approached me and asked me, hey, I think you'd be a good fit for this, I never thought about men's work, men's mental health, men's well-being ever. So when it came in, I was quite shocked. I was like, oh, okay, I've never thought about that. But it's been an awesome journey.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Thank you, Titus.
That's a bit about me.
Very cool. Yo, B.
And just riding on your intro, I think, in case you don't remember, part of why in my head it clicked that it made sense for you to join Bros was because you're one of those few males.
Yeah.
In that early education space,
that.
And the whole identity, the whole what it means to develop children, or as a father, I was just like, this dude knows it clinically well, right? Around pedagogy and all that. I was like, amazing, right? But for me, outside of Bros, the day job, the day life, right, is really in corporate training and consulting. I love all things related to leadership development, people development. I'm just all about people. The people agenda for me outside of Bros is Bros development, people development. So to me, this is all just my life.
Thanks, Brian.
Same thing. I think of myself as a people developer. I started off on university campuses. So I started off in student well-being, where I got introduced to mental health, psychology, kind of psychological services and support.
Yeah.
Also got introduced to, hey man, people go through shit, right? And I think it was the first time in my life that I really got exposed to that professionally.
Okay.
So I think ever since then, that's been my mission, mostly around people, not specifically well-being, but how do we help people get the most out of themselves and set them up, realize their potential across the board. So from student well-being went to student engagement, and then now, of course, leadership development, corporate training as well, which was, a lucky transition. It led me to meeting Brian, of course, yourself, and all of this stuff. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Actually, what I want to get to also is what's interesting is I love the name. The name is so cool. But before we get to the name, right, how would you explain the mission or the vision or the goal of Bros Before Woes? Succinctly, what is it? Maybe I'm not so sure if it's everybody knows this, right? What you stand for, just kind of go down that path.
I really respect how you always say it so carefully. You don't want to, so that's and we need to say it quite carefully and articulate it well when we mention it, right? Because people instantly jump to the usual saying. But to me, why I like the name, other than it being really close to pop culture and everything else, is because actually it does encapsulate what we stand for, which was your question, right?
Yeah.
Which is really bros, meaning relationship, meaning connection, meaning the pack, meaning friendship.
Yeah.
Right. Bros before you get into woes.
Yeah.
And woes meaning really bad things like really bad things like, screw this, I'm going to get a divorce, right?
Yeah.
Screw this, I'm going to do something drastic. Screw this, I'm going to do something extreme, right?
Yeah.
Hold on. Bros before guys jump into those extreme decisions or those extremely bad places, right? That's why it's all in the name. Yeah, that's our mission, right? Like where it's us, it's the pack, it's community before you fall into or dive headfirst into a dark cesspool, which are various woes, which we're familiar with.
Yeah,
there's a name, and then we read in between the lines of the name, right? And it's got so many layers, like an onion. But with something that we saw around that, we realized that a lot of times men, when they do get help or when they do try to grow, it's because something's already happened. Like the glass has already been shattered, and then they try to pick up the pieces and rebuild.
Yeah.
So it's really like, how do we get into a space where it's not preventative, but we make sure that guys can do the work, before, and don't have to necessarily go through that kind of like reality shattering experiences in order to know that, hey, it's time for me to grow. It's time for me to hold my brothers close, which has been really cool.
Yeah.
And the last thing about the name, which I think we all really like, is just the relatability of it.
Yeah.
It's just chill. It's it's a bit left field. It's a bit weird. So I think, that really encapsulates the three of us too. We're all pretty atypical guys and just dudes, right? And we saw a lot of interventions out there that were like clinical sounding or like super serious sounding. And we felt that guys didn't always respond to those kinds of narratives or that kind of branding. So just like, we're just normal dudes. Let's just have a normal dude name, make it a little bit silly, make it a little bit edgy, and then that's just how it came about.
I know you guys met across different different chapters, different times in life and all that, right? Was there a moment where there's something personal that you said you have to start something like that? Or it just happened very organically? Just curious, was there like a personal story, or you saw somebody like, oh shit, this guy really needed some help? How did that all happen?
I have a personal story around it, and I'm super open to sharing. I think I've shared it with the guys many times
on
now.
The internet after
now
this,
for
brother.
everybody, right? So my parents are divorced. I think this is a phrase that we often hear in the men's groups too, which is, I had a typical Asian dad, right? Which is, what does that even mean? We say it so freely, but I think what it means to most of us is like a little bit emotionally distant, sometimes a little bit hard, like that disciplinarian kind of hat and archetype. I think the second half of that archetype too is like the provide for the family, bring home the bacon. Other than that, like nothing else, right? That's my role in the house. That's what I do. So I think had a very typical Asian dad kind of growing up. I don't mean I have a hard childhood, right? Just maybe like an emotionally distant one in terms of that relationship. Caused lots of opportunities and super grateful for that, all that kind of stuff. But that was definitely something that was missing. And so when my parents eventually got divorced, and it was hard, it was like very strained. And so my mom couldn't like move all my dad's stuff out of the house. So it kind of lay on me, right? Go through all his stuff, right? Move it to wherever he was. And while I was doing that, I was going through the boxes of his stuff and just looking through to see what was his, which was hers. And I found this book. And it was like, old book, like definitely super, super old. And the title was How to Raise Boys. I always remember in that moment, I just like broke down, dude. Like I couldn't take it. Because to me, it was like, where was that guy who bought this book? Like, where was he like my whole life, right? So I think in that moment, kind of realized that at one point in time, there was like a deep desire to raise boys, emotionally intelligent, have that close relationship. But, like we said, right, before life gets in the way, before other shit gets in the way, right, there's desire, and there's like a want to be a good man and be a good father. So back to the question about, what personally drives me to start this is I think I learned in that moment that desire alone isn't enough, right? And there's stuff that we need to learn, there's stuff that we need to unpack, unlearn, and then we need close bros, good bros that we can rely on to keep us on the straight and narrow, right? So that's me.
Thanks for sharing, man. Appreciate that. A good story, and it's a very meaningful one. I can kind of relate also. Like I came from a single parent family. My dad passed when I was like 8-9 years old. So my mom single-handedly brought up two kids, and we were not easy. We're naughty. No, 2 boys, right? And the biggest thing for me, on hindsight, as I think through this story, right, was I never had a father figure. Right? And this phrase, I never had a father figure, means different to any guy out there, right? Or even a woman out there, right?
Yep.
So I never had that. But my mom was everything. She cooked for us. She worked hard, couple jobs, raised us well. Amazing, right? So I never had this like, what is it to have that? What is it like to be a man? As I talk about it now, I never thought of it like that way. But as I kind of had this conversation with you guys, I was prepping for this. Like, hey, this really came up. You know, like, what was it like? Especially in my younger days, I was like looking at guys in a way that, who should I be?
Yeah.
You know, what is it like? You know, it's supposed to be very, very loud.
Yeah.
Or very like more chill.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, then you see ads like Marlboro Man, James Bond.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up in the 80s, like most of us probably, right? You know? And I never really kind of knew.
Yeah.
And so I was always trying to discover along the way, like, hey, what is it meant to be? But what has thankfully been quite a good constant was I had a couple of good buddies around.
Yeah.
They always tease me, but never judge me.
Yeah.
Right? We had good fun together, like as usual. We poke fun at each other, like stupid jokes, you know. But whenever I needed some help, the guys would be there. Yeah. So like, okay, that was my community. Like I never found what it meant, you know. So maybe that I always say like I'm a late bloomer because I was trying to figure out what it kind of meant, at least from a men's perspective, not career, you know, like, or maybe it's combination.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'm butchering this, but I'm just sharing my story just like bluntly out there. Like, you know, like this is how I was, my kind of journey lah. You know, like what is it be? How should I act? You know, that kind of thing.
And the thing that came out, and this is also what captured me and what gave me a mission and a vision within Bros before was because like I explained, I'd always been all about the child, right?
Yeah.
And this was even before I had my own child.
Yeah.
And as a male preschool educator, I often realized that a lot of these children in the schools, the reason why they were so close to me as a guy was because they didn't have a figure at home.
Oh shit.
That was exactly what you explained. That gave them a model for what a caring male looks like in their life.
Yeah.
They never seen, in a sense, sad to say, what a caring, compassionate male figure can look like.
Right.
So when they met me, and I didn't even have to be that caring and compassionate, I just had to be there. They were like, "Oh my god, you're the best," you know.
The benchmark is that low.
Right. They
So
really
low.
didn't have that.
Yeah.
And I think when I thought about that, I realized, wow. Well, number one, like that's why I'm so glad that I was able to be there to have that kind of influence in their life. But on the other hand, you also realize that whenever you talk about men's work and men's well-being, inevitably the role of their fathers will come in, or those who are fathers, they will start to reflect on what's their role in their child's life. So it's almost consistently, this topic will always come up.
Very interesting.
Parenthood, like especially father, and also relationships. These are two of the like big hit topics in every kind of gathering we have. But I mean, to answer your question, I think that was in a sense, my calling.
Yeah.
So not a specific story, but just that realization that I had about how powerful it is to have a role model.
Yes.
So what you were missing, what Kit wanted was, who do I look up to be the man that I need to be, right? And when you don't have that, you look to all sorts of other places. Yeah. Some okay, like your buddies, but some really shit, like online, right?
Yeah. Very interesting. I never thought of it from that perspective, though. I mean, as a childhood educator, right?
It's always the discipline master archetype, right? Which is like probably pretty similar to dads. So you say,
seriously, giant teddy bear with Batman voice. And that's why I love hanging out with the guys, because every time I hear their stories or we talk about things, something new is triggered, and something new was triggered when you shared that story again, which I've even heard before. But the thing is, I just remembered a minute ago that actually my wife surprised me with a little book like that, right? How to Raise a Boy. But she dropped me that book, it like hid it in my drawer as part of the gender reveal, because I didn't know it was. And then the book was like How to Raise a Boy, and I just saw, I was like, hey, what's this doing here? She's like, oh, it's for you. Okay, thanks. I didn't register that was a gender.
We have a boy, I'll use this book.
I was like, that's just me being me, right? And then later she told me that, I started freaking out, like, first one. So that reminded me of that, and also reminded me that I should read that. When it comes to the genesis of Bros, like I said, it's just so multifaceted. We can't just say one emotive moment or one tipping point, right? But to me, what's in my head around the genesis was two main things. One was just as we were having matcha, right? So modern, right? As we were having matcha and ice cream, soft serve, right? That's when I realized that, hey, we had like instant psychological safety somehow. Like it was just so chill. And then as he was sharing about, the work and his aspirations around men's groups and his experiences, me knowing Titus a little bit longer and seeing how, as a guy, right, how he works with the kids and being one of those few male early educators, right? Then I was just like, well, hold on a minute. Like it was like a vision where I was like, hey, this guy, he's single, or he's not married, right? And these are the sort of struggles that he was having. And this guy to have a kid, right? And then versus me also sharing my struggles around around having 2 young kids.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a minute, we represented that entire spectrum of those key transitions from single guy to dating well to feeling ready to propose.
Yeah.
And then now that we're married, then this whole crazy thing about, are we ready to have kids? How do we do this? How do we prepare for that?
Yeah.
And then of course, now that I am a dad with no instruction manual, like all the sort of things I'm facing around, there's like this window of massive transition. And the way we were just instantly sharing, connecting, supporting, I was like, more guys need to experience this sort of safety. That whole representing the entire spectrum of those key changes, transitions, that was that one key bit.
Yeah.
And the second easy bit was, wait a minute, there's so many women's support groups.
Yeah.
I can't even name a single men's group.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling like I have a support group right here. I'm like, let's scale this.
Yeah.
Because there's none in the market.
Yeah.
There's none around. So it was as simple as that.
So cool. I mean, that was the thing for me also when I spoke to Brian. Like, hey, I think there's like a space for this for men's support group, right? And there's like very hard to find.
Yeah.
And then he told me about it. It's so cool. It's very, very awesome to see. But when I shared this Bros Before Woes with a couple of folks I know, they're like, what's this about? Like, you know, they don't understand, right? Like, why men this kind of thing? No need, like, just be a man, go, just go your thing, you know.
Who was saying that? Women or guys?
Guys, yeah.
Guys were saying
you
that.
know? Like, what are your thoughts around that kind of comments, you know?
You just need to see our CNA feature, the Facebook comment. Dude, that shit was so fun.
I haven't seen the Facebook comments actually.
There are things like, me and my bros also have monthly meetings at KTV or at Orchard Plaza. Like, dude, it's so funny, right?
Yeah.
So,
it's not the right word, but yeah.
Yeah, it's it's definitely a phenomenon, right? So we've seen when guys turn up, they're like, actually, like, I have really, really close guy friends that I do everything with, except go deep and like talk about what I'm really, really struggling with.
Yeah.
That's why they come to us and do that, right? It's their angle too, right? We're not there to replace like their bros, their buddies, right? But it's, do they have that range? Do they feel it in those buddy circles? And I think the struggle is like the more jokes like that are being made, right? Imagine if like Brian was making that joke, but then there's me here, but I'm actually going through something.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not going to bring it up with Brian after that. And then so I'll crack the joke, he'll crack the joke, you crack the joke, you crack the joke.
Yeah.
But then actually all of us are like, I actually want to say something.
You're
but,
shutting it
but
down.
I can't.
Yeah. I think it's interesting, right? Because I personally am thankful, like I got buddies who are okay. They, they don't go to the KTVs and all that when we want to talk about real stuff, so that makes a big difference. I say this, my wedding, I may not be always a good time friend, but I will always be a bad time friend. Meaning that I'll always be there. You can go to your parties, whatever, go or don't go, it doesn't really matter to me. But if you need support, I'm dependable, I'll be there. That kind of guy. That's my thinking, right?
Whenever guys make those sort of flippant comments like, no need, I just meet it with it, right? One, to me, is quite clear. They're a minority.
Yeah.
They're a minority, a bit of bravado, a bit of whatever, right? If you ask me, 7 out of 10 guys are open to like normal conversation about life because they just know that, work is work. Being a home, being a dad, it's fulfilling, but it's also tough.
Yes.
Oh, sure, right? It's quite normal. So the those that sort of poke this and right, it's a minority. But that being said, I also do want to say that there is no judgment if that is the cycles that you've been into, right? The guys at Bros, not perfect.
Yeah,
that's right. The guys at Bros and the bros within the community still struggle with all these sort of different things. The only reason why we just sort of speak against those things is simply not because it's a moral judgment, but simply because it does not serve you. Yeah. You feel really crap. After going off on a bender, you feel really crap going on a bender for 2, 3 days, 4 days straight, right? It's only because it does not serve, not because it's a moral judgment. Because again, we know we've all had our coping mechanisms. We've all only known certain ways of coping before, right? So that's just a piece. We poke fun at those sort of flippant comments, but end of the day, I still understand why. I understand where we've come from. Everyone's had very different and extreme journeys. But we want to get into and focus on what serves versus what truly does not serve and in fact harms. Well put, man. I think that's very sharp, man. The way that you're talking about just giving that healthy version of support.
Do it.
And I love what you said about good time friend, bad time friend. That's definitely something we should steal for sure, right? An extension of what you said, and it just clicked to me then. But with a lot of these guys, like you said, no judgment. Like, I'm not saying that these male friendships are bad. Like, I've got friendships that are like that, and I'm like that too. You know, the chance to be silly and to be like flippant and just like a dude, right? But it's about like knowing, like, you know, these are good time actions, or like good time friendships, right? But it's, do you know, like, when bad times come, are these guys still your bad time friends? Which is, you know, what we're talking about, that range. And so for guys who are like just always, no judgment, but if they're always like that, I'm happy for you that like you guys are all good times and good times. And I just hope that, you know, if and when bad times come along, like you guys are still together, right? So it's not judgment, it's different journeys, different experiences.
I think the key phrase is also coping mechanism.
That's what I do.
How much of what you're doing is, you know, an active choice, or you running from something? And a lot of times they're running from something. To me, there's levels to it. We always talk about this. Like when we do men's work, there's a group of guys that are like, they're in, like, you're a little bit like that. When you're in, like you get it right away. Then there's a few that are just kind of like, when they come for the bros night, they're like, oh, still a little unsure, trying to figure it out, trying to kind of suss it out. Then there are those that are like, you know, those people that, you know, who are adamantly against it. They kind of poke fun at it. They're like, I don't know, who's this for? They tease about it. And I often feel like those ones are the ones that need it the most. You know? So it's like the ones, and this is a similar principle in early child education. The noisiest and the loudest, the ones who shout the loudest, are also the ones that hurt the deepest. They're often the ones that have just faced so much difficulty, challenges. Every person that's met them has called them a naughty kid. So they just have a mentality that they're a naughty kid. But actually, they're the ones that need the greatest amount of love and support and care. And I think for a lot of guys, it's the same, right? We build up these walls because we've been hurt so bad. If I haven't been hurt so bad, I don't have so much of a wall. But I had these walls because maybe at some point, I tried to tell somebody how I felt, and they laughed in my face about it. You know, I cried in front of someone and they laughed in my face about it. And I just made a decision. I'm never going to cry again because I don't want to feel that again. You know, and that's just like that. That's not healthy, right? That's something that, you know, needs to be worked through and kind of broken down.
Whoa, man. Chills, bro.
That's baggage.
It's a very relevant, you know, you've kind of mapped it to adulthood, and it's because you see that. I think, you know, B was talking about it earlier, like, you know, you were fighting against something. Like, what is Bros Before Woes? What are we representing? Are we fighting against, you know, in society, in families? You know, what are we doing?
You're absolutely right. We are actually explicitly focused on two key battles. First key battle is straight up standing up against the toxic manosphere. All that craziness on social media, all these, unfortunately, global movements, right, of incel culture, all that extreme toxicity, we are definitely standing up very explicitly against that. So that's battle one. Second battle is doing whatever the hell we can to bring down the numbers around male all the insights, all the bodies of knowledge around connection, around male loneliness, all those pieces. We're bringing all the experts with us, right? Developing curriculum, informing how we want to run what we run, so that we're able to, again, very clinically, very sharply, but also in very human ways, right? Tether people. I like to say tether people to this side of eternity, right? Before they make that ultimate woe that cannot be reversed, which is male.
So powerful, man. That's two big topic.
What it is it's really men trying to learn how to be men, right? So what we do is we have to present, well, what is it a man should be? Right? You need to learn how to be a man. Don't learn from the wrong places and don't learn the wrong things, right? Learn what it is to be a man. There isn't enough of the education, I think, in society about teaching you how to be a man. So all these people just take these crazy ideas and they run with it. And then with the loneliness and epidemic, it's really men not being able to connect with each other and find that kind of companionship. And again, how we try to combat that is really, it's just helping men to learn how to connect with one another, to talk to one another, to let down the walls, let down the guard, have that safety, but eventually to be ones that create that kind of a safety for others, right? Because the three of us will never be able to reach every man on this earth, right? But the goal is that it just keeps growing, right? People get a sense of how they need to be and what they need to do.
I think it's a nice segue into how you're bringing this to life. And I think there are a couple of ways that Bros Before Woes does it, like your Bros Night. I just want to hear a little bit more.
I think all the initiatives that we've kind of embarked on, so like Bros Nights, the program, what we think of as like tactics, just things that we're trying, right? So I think on a bigger picture, I think something that we set out to do and what we wanted to do is how do we create the space, so like a safe environment and a safe space for men to have the chance to do some of this inner work, awareness work, right? So giving them the space and giving them the opportunity to do the work. We found that number one, there is no man's school, right? Maybe we could one day, but at the moment, like it doesn't exist, right? So what do? We learn from our parents, of course, right? We learn from the other men that we see, and then most of the time we learn from other boys, right, our age, who also know nothing, right? And we just kind of look over our shoulder and we kind of learn that way. And as we go into life, there's no checkpoint to say like, hey, what have you learned? Like what Brian said, is this going to serve you? Or is it something that's maybe leading you down like a path of potentially, there's one day that it's going to come down or these coping mechanisms that you're learning is going to reach something that it can't help you cope with anymore. And when men realize that, hey, there's some deficiency here, right? They need to learn something or change something that they can turn up to and plug in and then start that journey and have that journey really be about what it means to be a man specifically. Because there are a lot of outlets out there around like personal help, self-help, like Tony Robbins style kind of thing, right? Which a lot of like dudes go to and subscribe to. And of course, that's on the positive side. Yeah. But then like Titus mentioned, like Brian mentioned, that in the manosphere, you had big names like Andrew Tate is, I think, the most famous one. And we always look at that as, it's not necessarily negative and bad, but, why has he garnered so much following and so much support is because there's a need out there for young men to learn about like how to be a man, right? And there are no other narratives out there saying the contrary, right? So we're trying to create an alternative somewhere else for people to go to. So that's, I guess, on the big picture of what we want to do. Space and opportunity for guys to do the work.
Got it. Essentially, you're creating platforms, channels, opportunities for these conversations to happen, right? And one of it is like a bros night. Then you have your courses. Is it correct to say?
Yeah.
Is there anything else besides those two?
Sure. Yeah. So we've been running for about 2 years. Yeah. Or 2 years now. And all of that was intention. There was experimentation. Yeah. Right. So after 2 whole years, with all the insight we've gained, how we want to target our two battles, right? As of now, it's a pretty clear 3-prong approach. Okay. One, for sure, Bros Nights, right? Bros Nights is just getting awareness out, that more and more guys know that there's this community and that people just come in and have a taster. Bros Nights are the perfect taster for therapy, forget it. But a Bros Night at a F&B place, okay, I can try that. And it's very therapeutic, right? And then again, they get into community slowly. The Bros Nights every month, that is key first pillar. Second key pillar is those that have experienced Bros Nights, and they're like, I love the vibe, I love the narratives that I'm hearing, the alternative narratives. Right, I want to go deeper. That's what the 8-week intensive course is for. I love how we're calling it these days. Let's just call it the program. No name for just the program. Like, you want to get in the program? Let's see if you call it. No, but okay. So we have 8-week intensive. That's where we get to confront a lot of these things around narrative, around identity, around triggers, around father issues. Right. So that is a second. Definitely a higher commitment, but definitely deeper inner work, right? That's the second key pillar. And the third key pillar, to me, this one, very dynamic, very vibrant. It's a community and an ecosystem. An ecosystem of 2 parts. One, of an ecosystem of decent bros. So meaning that bros that are really regulars in the community and bros that have gone through the course, right? We know that these guys are committed to living out a different narrative. They're committed to being community, to helping other bros, right? So as we build an army of decent bros, they're the ones that are going to lead activities, lead interest groups, right? Be a force multiplier for goodness, right? So that's part of that ecosystem. The second part of the ecosystem is our group of partners who are different experts, right? May they be clinical therapists, right? Those that focused on suicide. Those, right? So again, those partners, believers of the cause, contributing insight, right? So all that piece. So again, so that's the third big piece around 3 main ways of bringing this to life. 1, Bros Nights. 2, the program. Number 3, that ecosystem. Where everyone is triaging, right? Who needs help? You had a issue, ideation, right? I know a specific expert for that. And then for these experts, when they have patients or clients that have sort of graduated and have done the work and are in good shape, in order to continue their momentum, they triage or they channel their their healed clients to our community so they can continue to be good and do good, right? So it's a whole healthy ecosystem of help. So these 3 pillars. This is how I
Yeah. So you're creating an ecosystem, basically, right? When I first went for the first bros night, I was extremely curious. Like, yo, I don't know what's it like. I was in it. I wanted to go.
Yeah.
But I was like, I have no idea what it's going to like because it's like my first time attending something like that. Yeah, and it was like amazing experience. Like I get to meet different people, hear the stories and all that.
What was your?
Was it a bit scary?
I was gonna ask, what was your before feeling?
Yeah,
and after is it? I think the before feeling was I was unsure what I would walk away with.
Yeah.
You know, like okay, I'll just go there and I'll share.
Yeah.
But I think the after thing was I know that there's so many people going through the same shit, or they're very similar stories, or there are people who are really getting it really bad, like they're going through a very tough time, you know, and for me it was like, oh, how could I support them in my whatever ways I could, even during that moment. You know, I had not much of an idea what it was like. A bunch of dudes coming together talking about stuff, right? Like, okay, cool. I wanted to hear for myself what it was like. I mean, that's the key thing, you know, because I had not much of an idea. I knew that there were topics to discuss. And after that was like, wow, you know, like there is a legit reason for this to happen. There is a movement that needs to happen to support men out there to find a healthier way of solving or resolving, you know, issues and topics. And a safe space for them to express. And what was amazing was you hear stories about like, hey, I don't talk to any of these things I just shared.
Yeah, I don't tell anyone.
I don't say a damn freaking thing to anybody else.
Never told anyone, right?
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
Wife, like, parents never mentioned.
The wife
have never spoken it out of their mouths before.
Like, totally it's crazy to hear, right? You know, then you hear stories like, yeah, I go out with my friends, I just drink beer, watch soccer. Talk about watches and cars. And then like, but I don't get to explore this dimension of being a Joe, average dude. Being human, you know?
Right. Yeah. And they have it in them. Like
it's all in like, there, dude.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure all these dudes drinking beer, watching soccer, if you put them at a table with a bunch of bros, you know, you'll be able to explore some depth. It's not like they don't. It's just that the setting, you know, is just people.
I think I like what you said. Explore some depth. I think that is the catchphrase. I like depth. In terms of interpersonal relationships, and knowing a psyche of a person, an individual, what motivates or what the person's going through, that was really fulfilling for me at least. Just to hear these stories, you know, when they share, they feel so much more enlightened.
Like it's just a weight.
It's like a big, you know, you can literally feel it. No, it's like a weight off their shoulders. It just goes out to the universe, into a safe space, and then we listen. No one judges. There is no judgment. No one just say, oh, why you didn't do this? Why you didn't? No. There's none of that. Right? So it's very cool.
But to me, it's also in the flow of that conversation. People also make better decisions. For example, again, this is not the heaviest sort of sharing, but I remember one guy in one of the small groups I was facilitating. So he was just tearing up for the whole 5 minutes, just sharing about how his depression is just so debilitating for him that he's not really able to function. He's lost his job. His mother, who needs medical help, he feels that actually he was supposed to take care of her, but actually she's taking care of him now. And then it came to something simple where he's like, I'm so debilitated and just off that I think I need to give away my dog, because I just can't take care of myself. How can I even take care of her? I'm forgetting to feed her. I'm not able to take her for a walk, right? He was tearing, talking about that. And then to me, it's just a simple, beautiful thing. But another guy in the group just said that, hey, bro, when I was going through depression, my cat was what kept me sane. So don't give your dog away. I'm just like, that was it. That was it, right? And, you know, so it's not just ventilating and then, get off your chest, but it's like people just share and get involved in each other's peace and just give. That's a small thing. Like, my cat sort of saved me. Keep your dog. It sounds silly. It sounds like it's a pet thing, but it was so deep and it was so powerful at that moment.
When as you talk about that, the main thing that comes out in my mind was like, it's just, you're not alone. I think that loneliness, or you feel like you're going through this alone, that gets people. I don't know. That's again my observation, or that's my experience. Like, you know, we won't name names, obviously. It's like they're talking about going through divorce. Like, maybe I should pull the plug, you know. And then another guy spoke up about his. So again, it's like, oh, like, end of the day, it was like, you know, I'm not the only one going through this. it somehow makes a difference.
Yeah.
You can't solve it,
Yeah.
but it somehow just makes a difference.
For sure, you can kind of see on their face like that relief when they say it, right? It's like a weight's been lifted, or like the freedom to feel once they share, and not only share, someone else shares something similar. It's not just me.
Yeah.
I'm not like uniquely broken or like a problem with me, but other people go through it too. Yeah, it's a extremely like cathartic experience, and guys would be like, dude, yeah, me too. Some of the most powerful sessions, it's like when we bring up something super taboo, super serious, and someone brings up something, right? He owns up to it, or he gets it off his chest, and then everyone goes like, me too, me too, me too. It's like the whole group, and like it's wild. Yeah.
And I think just by their sharing, this other guy was very helped to see that, hey, I'm not alone on this road, and there's people who've gone through this, and look where they are now.
Yeah.
And that's where I can be eventually. And I think just that,
so cool.
Having people be at such different stages too is really powerful as well.
What's interesting to me, one time, this guy, very muscular, very big. It's just like an interesting moment for me. Like typically when you meet somebody, like, pure human beings, that you judge the person. Right. You just kind of like, oh, this guy's like that kind of guy, you know? But the moment when he was sharing about how, like, all the vulnerable stories and moments, how insecure he was, being a father, at work, this kind of stuff. And then just say, wow, behind all that, like, visual appearance, it's just someone who actually is also going through very similar challenges and difficulty, So to me, like, there's so many interesting nuggets that come out from every conversation.
Sure.
I don't want to ask questions also. I think the key thing is also the age group is quite broad, right? You see a bunch of different ages so far. What's the youngest, and what do you think is like the oldest so far in your groups?
Like a uni student, I think.
Yeah, I think our youngest is maybe like 20, 21.
Yeah, we started targeting early 20s.
Not that many.
Early 20s, huh?
Early 20s till about mid 40s.
Yeah.
That's what we target. Yeah. We definitely have people coming in outside of that bracket. The reason why we target early 20s to mid 40s is because, again, that's who we represent in terms of their challenges, right?
Yeah.
Single guys that are getting to the workforce, getting into dating, right? So that's early 20s.
Yeah.
And then the mid 40s is really where you've gone through the bit around getting married, having kids, and then your kids becoming toddlers, getting into that whole thing. That's about mid 40s, right?
Gotcha.
Where that comes. So while that's the target, and that's where we are very well equipped to speak into that. And it's fabulous because we don't going to have all the 20-somethings in one group, right? We always want it to be mixed.
Yes.
Because we've seen when you have like the 40, 50-year-olds, right? Yeah. Just being real about what they've seen. It's really educational for the younger guys. It's really real wisdom. And it's like they have, and what Titus was saying to me is just right, there is vision.
Yeah.
There's a specter of vision, the specter of what my life can be. And that specter is better than my current challenges.
So you see some direction, some hope, some way forward.
Yes.
We really put it down to like role modeling, not in the sense that like the older guys who come in, they play like a mentorship role in the group. That they like, give younger guys advice. It's not like that at all. Zero. But role modeling in the sense that a lot of times we look to our side, right? Guys our age, what are they doing? Oh, everyone also getting married at the same time. Oh, everyone's also trying to chase this and chase that. I should do that too. Yeah. So I think, what it gives them the opportunity to is like, I see an older guy who shared one perspective of what it means to be a guy and one perspective of how life can go. Yeah. And I see another guy who's like also further down the road, who's gone from a different perspective and has gone through a different pathway. So it's really an opportunity for guys to like paint that picture for themselves and choose a path for themselves. So I really love the story, like you said, about, big macho, good looking guy, right? Because, how many guys out there like are thinking to themselves like, man, like, why can't I look like them? Like, if only I was taller, if only I was better looking, if only I was like, more fit, right? Maybe life would be easier. I can get like a girlfriend or girls will talk to me and kind of stuff like that. And then the opportunity here, a guy that's like that, right? That kind of like model of top guy, like desirable and stuff like that, to come out and say like, dude, I go through all this stuff too. And then for the first time, if guys can hear that, they're like, oh, didn't know. Like, didn't occur to me, like,
I thought you should be so happy. Or should be perfect.
Like life would be perfect and stuff like that, right? So we see that range of like super successful guys, like super wealthy guys even who come in, right? And that kind of image of like perfect career, perfect family, and like, yeah, they just have their own shit that they go through. And so I think just having that perspective and having them share it and having younger guys or other guys just listen to that, it's so powerful.
Yeah, it is. The one time I remember this older guy going through like the whole divorce challenges, and the younger guy who recently got married talking about the same thing.
So good.
You know, this guy's like, I just got married, maybe like 1.5 years, 2 years, you know, like, wow, I know I'm going through this whole shift in what does it mean to be a husband, you know, like, wow, then last time single, now like dating, you know, that whole transition.
Yeah.
Not everybody goes through it. Or maybe is able to understand what that transition looks like. Therefore, like, I'm very worried about getting divorced, you know, like, and then this guy who's been married, his kids like quite big, blah, 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 talking about the same topic, right? But obviously different dimensions. And then as we all share and listen, it's quite interesting to see the support they are getting also.
One thing that we practice in our bros night is not trying to fix problems. Because sometimes many times what you need is you just need to be able to talk through it, right? To talk about it. Once people get into the mode of like, oh, bro, actually, I think what you need to do, or you shouldn't have done that, or I think what you should do instead, then it becomes just, you're trying to fix a problem. You're trying to give advice. You know, we have a set of rules on bros nights, and one of them is no giving advice.
Yes.
You can share your experience. You can ask for permission to share something with them, but don't take that role of like, because I'm ahead of you, I'm doing it right and you're doing it wrong. So follow me, young Padawan. You know,
I can't remember the guidelines now, but you have a card.
Yeah.
Do you all remember what it says?
The first one, which is very important, is using I statements.
I statements, okay.
So don't share in a general way.
Gotcha.
Because sometimes you will say, you know, guys like to, and we'll say, no, not guys like to, you. Right? You know, guys always feel, no. I always feel. Because when you generalize it, it becomes impersonal.
Yes.
And don't do that, right? And the second one is whatever happens here stays here. Right? So even if you go out and you meet a guy in the group with his wife or his partner, and you remember something that they shared, you just, hey, how's it going? You know, oh, I didn't know.
I love hey, how are your problems together?
So, and then we have another rule, which is to speak fully to the time. So we like to give guys time to speak, and you'll see a whole range. You'll see some guys who just go on and on and on, and then they don't learn to respect each other's time. But you also get guys who are very reticent. They don't say much. And we encourage them, speak fully into the time, right? Sit with it, but speak fully into it. And then the last rule is the one that I mentioned, which was the don't give advice. Just share it from experience. But don't try and fix each other's problems. Don't try and tell each other what to do.
No, you're missing my favorite rule. My favorite rule, which is after you share for the full 5 minutes or whatever time it is, and you have to use the time. However you share about the challenge, about the issue, you can go on and go on, but it has to land back with you. Ownership, accountability, right? So you can't just leave it that it's the boss's thing, it's the work thing, it's the office thing, it's society's thing. No. Everything you shared, it must come back down to you. That is a must.
So we have to relearn how we speak and relearn how we share and relate to our experiences. And when we can do that, like it becomes so rich for everybody else.
That's nice, man. Just curious again, like how do we ensure we follow up with some of these heavier topics, you know, and just making sure that the bro's okay. What's your protocol or kind of SOP as people were listening to this? Like, hey, you know, how do you handle those topics?
That's why the triage system or the ecosystem is so key. Because for sure, at our bros nights, things like ideation, attempts, right, have been made. I remember one guy in my small group, he was recounting how he had written out his note. Right, written it out, placed it on the dining table, right, for his mother to take the next day, right? So once it gets into very serious, very acute situations like that, straight away, once we pick these up, firstly, that night, the guys organically just stood up and like, hey, guys, group hug. You don't expect guys to like get like that, but organic. No, Titus didn't have to facilitate. Okay, everybody now go hug him. Right? No, none of that. It was just like the guy just wanted to, right? So immediate for sure, immediate support, immediate connection, but also just as immediate right after the bros night. If our partners are in the room, the clinicians, right, the clinicians, the therapists, right, then we channel, hey, just try and shake hands with that guy. Right. There's that. Or if they're not there, then we say, hey, you know what? What you shared, we fully heard you.
Yeah.
We really encourage that you
Yeah.
reach out to some of our partners that are like us. They're super open, they're super right. And then we really nudge them hard to seek help, to seek the help that we are super clear. We are not the expert, but we know the experts that we know and trust.
Yeah.
And therefore, that's the action we have to take. And to me, that is active, organic, intentional triaging.
Yeah, so important. That is so key. Yeah.
And we want it to encompass all parts of like male health, right? So not just like that mental health help, but also like medical help and stuff like that. We want to be able to have partners that we trust and like, hey, go there, let's work on this. Sometimes we have like workout sessions and stuff like that, right? So really, triaging kind of the professional help to other people that in a way that covers all aspects of male health, right? Because we know, we're not the experts in a lot of these things. We're not even like well-being, mental health experts, right? So having to draw that line.
Yeah.
And I think like the other side of that, which has been a big challenge too, has been around like us having to draw that line of like, you know, we can't reach everybody and be there for everyone, even though we want to help. We get DMs from guys that are like, I really need someone to talk right now, or like your bros night is sold out. Like, can I come last minute? I'm really going through a hard time.
Yeah.
So we've had to, of course, like turn down a couple of times and say no, not because we don't want to help, but it's because, you know, what is our best way of helping? What is the way that we're most comfortable with, right? If we open the doors for that, right, having to pick up the phone and go every time like we get a DM, like, those are the challenging things because we want to help, but not being able and not having the expertise to help every single person is a hard feeling. So we're trying to, give everyone the help they need in the best way that we can, in like a sustainable way, in the way that we can reach as many people as possible.
Right.
The best thing we can do is really just to be a bro, right?
Yeah,
just be a bro for these guys, right?
So you know how to be bros. That's,
good bros.
The simplest things. You text them when they hit back home. Hey,
100%.
bro, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Text them the next day. How's everything? Hope to see you the next night. You know, I mean, it doesn't take a lot. Doesn't take, you know, but just these simple things can go a long way.
Yeah,
you know,
totally.
These guys are always super humble. So but let me be clear, right, on this, which is that, sure, clinicians, therapists, right? They are experts. They're certified in what they do. But again, some therapists don't know how to hold space. They don't hold space well. Some therapists are very academic, right? They just tell me it's a clinical thing for them, right?
Yeah.
Because of the work that we do, right? In the facilitation space, in the community space, right? In the people development space, right?
Yeah.
We definitely are experts when it comes to building community, connection, holding space, right? And therefore we are a tangible, different piece in that whole ecosystem. We're clear what we are not, but we are super clear on our strengths. We are super clear on the spikes that we have. And that is how we contribute to that ecosystem that, again, all builds towards taking care of this cause, which is men.
Yeah, totally. So that's the bros night. I mean, so much good stories from that. A lot. Really amazing. I want to just maybe spend a little bit of time on the program. What is the program? Who's it for? How many people? How long? You know, let's dig into that a little bit more, man.
Yeah.
So
it's the program.
I think in like the States, if you say you're in the program, people think it's like
alcoholics.
Right? Disclaimer. Right?
Over the 8 weeks, we bring the men in a safe, measured way together to confront issues, challenges, memories, journeys, right? That they probably never had to. And again, why do we bring them to confront certain key topics? It's because these are the few topics and these few areas that you need to have some closure on, or need to have a perspective on, in order to have a fighting chance to be relatively balanced and to be relatively authentic in your journey ahead. You will not be solved in 8 weeks, but you need to have some perspective and additional perspectives around some of these key areas in order to have a fighting chance. So to me, that's how I take it. But again, the guys definitely have a different perspective.
You guys want to add to that?
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Oh, you like it?
I think that's all encompassing. I think just to add on to it, right? Yeah, because it's creating space for the conversations that not only do men most of the time just don't have, but it's the ones that we actively avoid, right? So maybe going into examples of kind of the topics that we get to talk about, right? What was your relationship like with your father? Or, you know, what was your earliest like sexual experience, romantic experience, relationship experience with the opposite sex, right? How did you learn to treat women things like that. And then, of course, ending off with like the really big stuff, which is how do you see a sense of worth, of value as a man, right? What do you feel like you have to contribute or feel like you have to show the world in order to feel like you are worth something? All this kind of stuff is what we want to unpack, and the program is really like the start of like the journey forward, which is just like, we're going to stop you right here. We're going to get you to think about everything and consider everything and actually reflect on everything. And so that's really what the program is.
How many people do you usually have in the program?
Every run is about 2 or 3 facilitators from our side, right, that will run it. And then we have about six guys.
Okay, nice, small group.
Yeah, and it has to be smaller because we're not giving the guys just that 5 minutes. Hey, this thing about how's the relationship with your dad? Oh, pretty good. And 5 minutes and it's done. No. Small group so that everybody can go deep. It needs to go deep. Around the confrontations. Right. So that's every cohort will usually be around that size. Right. And again, for next year, for sure, we're running more runs of this at that same size because we've discovered and the goodness that we've seen in the previous runs, we are crystal clear now. On what really hits, what's really meaningful, and what just really just like the guys just start to just pour. Right, pour.
Yeah.
I always tell the people who ask about the program, come for the Bros Night first. And if you like it, and you're like, oh man, I wish I could have more time to chat with these guys and to talk about other things. And I don't have to wait till next month. All of those, bing, 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 come for the program. Same group of guys, deeper topics, more at length. So it's not a lecturer telling you what to do. But it's just you've got some questions and you've got some hard questions to ask yourself to face up to. You know, one of my favorite questions from the 8 weeks was just, what is something that you feel has always been something you've regretted or something that you felt, you know, you just wish this one part of you, if you could change it, everything could be fine, everything could be good. Like, what's that one part of you that you feel, you always feel a bit regretful or is a bit broken? And powerful question, right? And I won't share my answer, but I feel like that's something that, you know, when we have questions like this, which really hit home, it forces all of us to just open up, and all of us were in the in the program as well. And I think I speak for all of us that it really, even for us who been doing this for 2 years, going through that 8 week of intensive topical deep dive with the same group of guys, where you just feel that bond built more and more and more and closer and closer and closer. You don't feel like you have to break the ice every week again. It's like you log on, it's like, oh, it's the same guys. And you already went into some depth with them too.
It's almost like you're digging this well, and so with Bros Night, it's like you dig a hole, you get a little bit deep, and then you climb out, and then you go off your ways. And the next month, you start from scratch again. The program, it's really like you dig, you get to one level, next week you come back again, and you keep going and keep going. So I think maybe first, second week, a little bit tentative with the guys. Maybe like third onwards, it was like, man,
why they go down? Go down go deep, basically.
You see guys like sit on the call. It's virtual. You see guys like topless, right? Just like, in the bathroom, right? It's just like legit 150% like safety, 150% like chill. Some guys they're on the call smoking, having a ciggy the entire time while we're for the entire 2 hours. And to me, I'm like, I love that. That's where we're at. Right. And even with the program, we even had therapists, right? We're part of the program. And they were like, this is it. That just builds the ecosystem, but that also gives us data. Okay, this is complementary to the work that's going on in the ecosystem. We're bringing insights from different experts as well. So all of that is just feeding into one thing that the therapist in the course, as he was going through some advanced learning in world-class sort of places, right? As he was going through that course, a lot of the videos that they were sharing or testimonials or just like sessions, session videos, he asked the instructors there, like, hey, why are all the videos that we have on this course, why are they all females? And then the instructor, for this like world-class work, they said like, oh, very few males either go for help, or if they do go for help, they're not willing to be filmed. So we're just like, okay, so that again, for the therapist, we're like, yes, that's why we need this. We need to normalize this. We need to normalize the program. We need to normalize like guys like getting help, right? So I just like, so much good data and feedback that just informs and sharpens everything that we're doing.
Totally. You know, I was reading somewhere or I attended some course I think it's my psychology thing that I was attending, and they were saying like, you go to all these activities in communities and all that, like they're all women. The uncles, I'm talking about old uncles also, like the men never join.
Yeah.
Rarely you see a guy there, you know.
Yeah.
So just typically men don't maybe look for help. They may not have a community, or they're not so used to having this space. How do we get that going? You know, so that was interesting to me.
Yeah, and maybe coming back to some what was said was why guys don't, right? It's because how I see us being complementary to the whole ecosystem is this. Legit, bros nights and 8 weeks, you're getting therapy.
Yeah.
Most guys will not go to a therapist.
No.
They don't want to go to therapy, right? So you don't want to go to therapy? Then come to bros nights.
Yeah. Yeah.
You'll get it in a form and in a way that feels like you're hanging out with the dudes, FMB, satay or whatever, right? Have a ciggy.
Yeah.
You are definitely getting therapy. I know that.
Yeah.
But in a program, in a format, that is super chill and super us and super you.
Yeah, man.
A lot of the followers that we have on Bros Before Woes, like IG, are women.
Yeah.
And then they would send some of the content that we put out to their husbands or their boyfriend.
Oh, yeah.
And then they'll tell them, you should go for this.
Yeah.
You know, you should try it out.
Yeah.
You know, and so we have messages to, we've had people come. We had a guy come. When we did a round of introductions, he's like, actually, I'm here because my partner signed me up.
Yeah.
Just straight up.
So one group also, like, my wife asked me to come. My girlfriend asked me to come. Okay, I'll come. Yeah, interesting, right? Would you welcome women into the program or the Bros Night? Or you think that would change the dimensions a little bit?
Very simply put, when you do put a woman in the mix, the conversation changes with guys. It changes. For the men to have that sacred space. I think these Bros Nights have to be bros only. But we've done a few runs of events where actually it's very good and very important actually to have the perspective of women as well, to be our allies, our partners, to help give perspective, you know, to share on things in a safe, you know, confidential space. So I think there definitely is a place for them.
Yeah, and we've said even before we kicked off our first thing, we were very clear early on. The whole thing around challenges, perceptions, whatever, is not formed just by men. It's formed by whole of society.
Yes.
Right. So therefore, confirm we have to engage and women have to participate. But how and when? That's where we need to be sensitive. Exactly what Titus said. So for a lot of the spaces, it is usually 100% men. But different from any other sort of little men's groups that are forming up, we are actively involving and engaging women at the right time.
Yeah, 100%. Like women own such a big part of the idea of masculinity, right? As much as like kind of men do, right? So I think one of the examples that we had from, can't remember, it was Bros Night program, was around kind of romantic relationships, you know, wanting to propose and want to get married. You know, the partner was all about like, oh, want a wedding at this venue, want a ring this size. And even if they weren't explicitly saying that, they would also like judge, you know, if you see on Instagram, like, oh, a ring is so small, or like, oh, what an ugly ring. And it's just like passing comment, I'm sure not malicious. And the guy said at that point, I just wish that loving her was enough. That one just like freaking got me. You know, men are just like, I love you so much, I want to be with you. But then it's like all this pressure. Right? I gotta be rich. I gotta be powerful. I need a good job and stuff like that. And that holds me back. I would have proposed to you 2.5 years ago, but like I didn't feel like I'm man enough to do that. Right? There's these narratives that like men aren't sensitive. Like we see this week in, week out. Dudes are so sensitive, so deep, so loving. But sometimes these narratives train it out of them, right? Or they don't allow them to kind of wear their heart on their sleeve. So yeah, of course, like women have some part to play in enforcing these narratives. So do men, of course. So we always believe that for things to change inside of the men's movement, right, we need like a women's movement. And likewise, inside a women's movement, we need to engage men too, right? Because if we're getting better, if men are getting better, right, that helps society as a whole, helps the community as a whole.
Good stuff. A lot of good stuff. And I just want to ask also, so what's next for you guys next year? Just a timestamp. This is December 2025.
That's
What's on your minds? I mean, it's okay. It's a question just to kind of explore. I want to hear what's next for you guys.
Yeah, we were supposed to talk about this right after this.
Tangible work planning was going to happen after this recording. But that being said, also crystal clear around all the momentum and all the feedback and all the data from the last 2 years. All that is clear. It's clear. In 2026, definitely more runs of the program. We're going to get bros involved, right, in running the program, especially those that have gone through, right? Yeah. They know the goodness of it. They know the experience. Those that are ready, right, we definitely will have them. That's one. Yeah. Bros Nights, we have new spaces, new places, new partners. Yeah. So again, we're going to innovate and elevate some of those experiences for sure. And again, because the community has grown to a certain size, definitely we'll be having more events where guys can be shoulder to shoulder. Yeah. That's how we love to operate, shoulder to shoulder, doing things that are healthy, doing things that are healthful, right? And constructive, right? Where guys can do constructive things together instead of stuff that's, again, just does not serve. Right? So interests, groups, activities for sure. Bros Nights elevated that. And again, way more runs of the program. That's definitely what I see for next year.
We had 3 pillars that we set up for ourselves. The 3 pillars are content, community, and commitment.
Nice.
Right? And I think those will still be what we drive on. Right? With today, we've talked a lot about community and commitment, right? The community is the Bros Nights, but also the larger group of bros that will continue to help to grow the Bros Nights, right? So far, all the facilitation has been with at least one of us on site. Yeah. The dream is eventually one night, multiple locations, right? You've got one in Novena, you've got one in like Orchard, you've got one, multiple Bros Nights. Go to the one that's closest to you, right? And then the commitment is the program. And again, right now, it's just the one run that we've done is just us. But eventually the dream is it can be something that is recurring. Yeah. And there's multiple runs, maybe even happening at the same time. But that commitment is what we want to drive, forward a lot, which is not just, the Bros Nights are great, right? Yeah. Don't get me wrong. But what you need for change is that kind of commitment, right? So driving for that commitment. And then finally, content. I mean, again, Joe, thank you so much for having us. Oh, this is like our first pretty legit time with creating content like this. And we've talked about it.
We definitely need some help with that.
We've been like, let's sit in front of mics and talk. And then now we're doing it, right? So, thank you for kicking us in the butt and getting us on this. Like, we always feel like there's so much. Dude, when the 3 of us talk, and at the end of it, we're like, shit, someone should have recorded that.
You should always record your conversations, guys.
There, right? Yeah. We should just meet next time when we meet. Yeah. Don't meet in a cafe. We'll just meet in a recording studio, right? And then we'll just discuss here, because stuff always comes up. So I think that pillar on content, because if you think about it, where does everybody get their ideas of who to be and what to think from? It's from the content that they see, right? Yeah. That they consume. Yeah. So if the content that is always being produced is of a certain kind, of a certain way, of a certain language, a narrative, then that's what's the dominant narrative out there. Yes. So to counter that dominant narrative, something else has to come up. Yeah. More powerful, more convincing, more real, right? So I say those are our 3 prongs that we're going to continue to hammer on. Content, community, and commitment.
Content, community, and commitment. That's right. Commitment, man. They're very important.
Yeah, commitment's awesome. Yeah. I think like we just finished a run of the program, right? Yes. And then we got the guys together. It was a separate event. It was a big workout event, but it was the first time that these guys met like in person. Seeing guys who have known each other for years. Yeah. Just like all get together, so warm, so cool. And commitment builds that kind of like going army and like going outfield together. You like go through that stuff together. It just builds that closeness. So, what we want to get in terms of community, commitment builds that strong community and gets it out there. Beyond, we're also slowly learning as we go. Yeah. Right. So we're learning what works and what doesn't work, right? What's the best way to reach? So kind of lying if we say our ambitions kind of end at like the program, we're also still thinking about, what's next in that journey, right? How can we continue to get guys who have finished that program and like want to continue going deep, want to continue going back, right? What's next for them? So those are questions we don't quite have the answers to yet. But it's our promise to figure it out and give it to the guys out there.
Love it. I think that'd be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. The promise is recorded.
Yeah. Promise.
The camera there is yours. Yeah. What is that phrase or little story or nugget that you want to tell people?
Out, our struggle has been that how do we get more guys to know about this? How do we break through? Because the guys that we have are great and lovely, but I always feel there's so many more. So if there's one thing that I can say to the listeners, to the watchers, if you're a guy out there, you know a guy out there, and you feel like, hey, they just need to be with a bunch of decent bros, a bunch of good bros. That's really what this is about.
Yeah.
At its bottom, it's just giving guys an opportunity to be with a bunch of decent bros and to become a decent bro themselves, right? That's really what it is at its heart.
So as the world is going through crazy stuff, upheaval, right, in the corporate space, layoffs and everything, Bros is a really interesting way or interesting channel for men, right, to just plug in.
Yeah.
And it's an opportunity to reinvent a whole bunch of different things.
Oh, yeah.
Reinvent your narrative around yourself, gain perspectives so you're able to reinvent how you want to live your life moving forward. Do you want to live your life in a bit of a, let's say, antisocial way and just doing what you're doing? Or do you want to be in community?
Yeah.
Right? That's a whole reinvention of your narrative and your perspective, your identity. So I think a lot of reinvention is an opportunity through this. Whereas you come in, you want to lead certain things, you have a good idea, you tell us, makes sense, go ahead, run it. Run it for the guys in the East or where you're at, right? I see for 2026, opportunities for guys to reinvent themselves, reinvent their narratives. And for guys who want to step up, there are leadership opportunities in our community, which will just sort of snowball into a whole bunch of other cool stuff in your own communities. And it's just good for people and it's good for society, right?
Yeah.
So again, it sounds very macro, but that's legit what I see and what I hope people that have an itch, I'm pretty sure you're going to find a scratch in this really diverse community that is the Bros.
Totally, man. Wow, well put. I like the perspective of reinventing, because there's all the work that we do here, where we talk about supporting each other, reflective and all that. Like, what shifts are we trying to see and make with each other?
That's right.
Or just internally and then intrinsically and then extrinsically also.
Yeah, I love that word too. If I may, kind of add something onto it.
No, man, the time is yours.
Tweak it ever so slightly. I think a lot of the times with the guys, it's not about reinventing the kind of guy you are, right? But almost the word that came to me was rediscovering it. So many times that we get lost in the performative nature of everything. And Titus, you'll know this and as a childhood educator, right? But something that always stood out to me in one of the films on men that I watch is they asked dads about their sons. They asked them, what is the trait that you love the most about your son that you would like them to never lose? And it's always that thing about how sensitive he is, how caring he is, how deeply he loves and stuff like that. And then it's always followed up with I'm so afraid the world is gonna teach him out of it, or the world is gonna bully him out of it, right? So it's almost this thing that I believe that every young man, every boy starts off with that. We kind of lose it, right? So it's that sense of going through this process of rediscovering that hey, you can love fully, right? You can be sensitive, okay to say I need a hug or I want my mom and stuff like that, right? So I think just to build on that, it's rediscovering. If any guys feel like you're not where you want to be yet, as a man, as a father, as a husband, right? Even as a professional, as a human being, right? Come, because it's a place for us to do the work, and you'll meet other guys just doing the work. And for as long as this program runs, we will have things to work on, right? Because we're never going to get there, but it's the pursuit of getting better. And it's really a lifelong journey of being better and being better. Understanding that you can't outperform all these shadows, like Ryan says, shadows. You can't outperform insecurity, right? Or you can't out happy an anger that you have inside of you, right? Just got to get down and dirty and kind of work on it and keep working on it. So I guess that would be my message.
Beautiful, man. Very important. As we kind of wrap this up, where can the Bros find the Bros Before Woes, man? Where can we find you guys? You want to look at the camera? Any of these in front of you?
So you can find us at brosbeforewoes.com is the website. You'll be able to find all our socials, all the links to the programs, the next Bros Nights that are up. You can find it there. On Instagram, we are brosbeforewoes.sg.
Beautiful.
Nice.
Thank you, Bros, for hanging out in the studio. It's been a pleasure, man.
Thanks for having us, G.
A real pleasure.
Thanks, man.
Thanks to you all for listening in. More content, more stories will be coming right up. I'll see you all real soon. Ciao.